every time when we talk about Indian story, I believe there are 3 reasons, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that because of that, India now is like a really lucrative market for everybody. First, there was a study which I was reading that our parents' generation and the generation before that, they used to save 54% of their income, right? And the generation now only saves 17% of their income. So this difference of like somewhere around 36-40%, this people are using in spending more rather than saving more. So obviously when people spend more, there has to be a need for consumerism and things need to happen. So that is first. Second reason is the middle class in India is actually growing now, right? The affluent people are, if you look at from rural areas, people are now moving to from tier 4 to tier 3, tier 2 to tier 1, like all of that is happening. So affluent, that thing is coming and everybody wants to do that, right? And third, and the most important thing is when we talk about Maslow's hierarchy, I believe that was made after looking at very individualistic societies like America, right? India is a community-driven society. So in community-driven societies, what usually happens is we are very status-driven. Even though we would be living like at a very basic life, we don't want something that is like, on the level 2 or level 3, we directly want self-actualization, we directly want status, we directly want everything else. So in India, it's very different. From level 1, we directly go to level 4 or level 5. There is no just roti, kapda, makan mila, uske baad status hi chahiye, aur kuch chahiye hi nahi hame. Right? So I think that is why we'll start buying like little expensive things. So what are your views on that?
So I agree with 1 and 2 and I disagree with 3. Okay. But let's go quickly to the second one. Completely agree that the middle class is growing. And that's what I mean by the flattening of the pyramid, right? So pyramid is like this and it's going to become more like this because this piece, the middle, is becoming bigger. If you look at even a lot of us sadly have been in this situation where there are different classes in society. We have staff. If I look at my driver's own life over the last, he's been with us maybe 10 plus years. He had got a bike very early. Now he absolutely wants a Ola Electric EV, right? And he's saving up for it. And obviously maybe we help a little bit with that. Has bought his own house. It's not very large, but in the last 3-4 years. So that's what's happening. Once you buy a house, you want to buy a TV. And then you want to buy a fridge and stuff like that. So middle class, 100%. Last point is actually most interesting debate. So I'll come back to that later. Pehla kya tha?
Pehla was
aspiration. the younger, not savings. So, that's a double-edged sword. Actually, a country grows. So when China was growing, their savings were very high. And if you look at overall macroeconomic structure, when a country has to grow fast, it has to spend fast on growth, infrastructure. So actually savings rate has to be high. I think India ka 30s mein, China ka 50s mein hua karta tha. I agree with the fact ki younger generation saves lesser and older generation saves more. But I'm just saying it's a double-edged sword. And I'll connect this to your third point. So I don't believe India is different. I believe people everywhere in the world are the same animal. There is some layering that I will give on this because of just digital and your first point, because people have grown up differently, right? I when I was growing up, I had to make a phone call to the US to actually go and stand in line at a PCO and put those coins. And today, my kids can't even imagine what a phone booth looks like, right? So it's a very different world. But my theory is, and I think I've seen it play out everywhere, and I think it's playing out in India, is that everybody is at different stages of Maslow's hierarchy. It depends on their income levels. And हमारा अभी income level आएगा तो आप same देखोगे. वो self actualization इसीलिए कर रहे थे, spirituality, religion, uniting or dividing, because पैसा ही नहीं था. अभी पैसा आएगा तो फिर वो सब सेम बिहेवियर
इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक हो जाएंगे.
सो चाइना के पास जब पैसा नहीं था, कम्युनिस्ट बना दिया. सो एंड नाउ नोटिस इन द लास्ट 3-4 years they've had to crack down because people are starting to behave similarly. They want more freedom, they want more this, they want more that, and then the power is threatened. So he's supposedly the billionaires left. So I think India is not different. I think everything will play out the same way. I will tell you, if anything, to your point कि अगर actually बोलो कि worry क्या है, worry है employment generation.
Employment generation, okay.
बिकॉज जो अपना सब बोलते हैं ना डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड है, वो डेमोग्राफिक लाइबिलिटी भी हो सकता है. आई डोंट वरी अबाउट सोशल अनरेस्ट, ये वो. आई जस्ट फील बैड इफ पीपल आर अनएम्प्लॉयड. आई मीन आई गेट on Twitter and here and there you'll get inputs from people who are BE computer science and unemployed. Now, why are they unemployed? Because their college from which they are graduating is unemployable, right? वो लोग जाते भी नहीं है कॉलेज, वो लोग खाली मतलब लिखा हुआ डिग्री है, right? But that's a big problem. So I am very excited about ये जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग शुरू हो रही है, बिकॉज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एक तो एग्रीकल्चर से थोड़ा शिफ्ट करेगा, बिकॉज एग्रीकल्चर में भी अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाती है, अंडर एम्प्लॉयमेंट. और दीज हाईटेक इंडस्ट्रीज व्हेन दे गेट सेट अप will help us employ people. So I was just reading in today's paper only that Apple's push in India has generated 100,000 jobs, direct and indirect, right? So I think if we have to roll out the red carpet, अब तो सब इंडिया में बनाने को तैयार है, तो अभी वो फॉरेन ब्रांड है नहीं फॉरेन ब्रांड है, आई थिंक वी शुड फॉरगेट ऑल दैट. वी शुड फोकस ऑन कैन ईच ऑफ दीज लार्ज कंपनीज गिव अस 500,000 to 1 million jobs a year, because that's what we really need, and that's where I worry about over the next decade कि क्या होगा अगर वो नहीं हुआ. So then what happens is, unlike in China where this flattening of the pyramid happened because a lot of jobs were getting created in a very mass way, like somebody was telling me, if you just look at the history of Alibaba,
okay,
before Alibaba also China was exporting, but access to export markets was limited to people who could go sell in the export markets. और वो भी हमारी तरह पुअर टाइप ही थे, तो उतना ज़्यादा it was a very the pyramid was very narrow. When Alibaba came, supply तो था, वो डिमांड प्लग इन हो गई. Suddenly you started seeing tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 के entrepreneurs starting to make money. अगर वो पैसा बना रहे हैं तो वहाँ के लोगों को एम्प्लॉय करेंगे, अगर वहाँ के लोगों को एम्प्लॉय करेंगे वो खर्चेंगे, राइट? तो ये फ्लाई व्हील चलना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, और उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा वरी करता हूँ कि ये चलेगा कि नहीं. बट काफ़ी उसमें भी ग्रीन शूट्स दिखते हैं.
क्यों नहीं चलेगा, मतलब इंडिया में?
बिकॉज चाइना ने एक चीज़ बहुत पहले कर दी थी कि पूरा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वर्ल्ड क्लास बना दिया था. तो इक्वालिटी ऑफ एक्सेस आ गई थी, राइट? नाउ आई विल गिव यू द कॉन्ट्रा आर्ग्यूमेंट आल्सो. तो वो इक्वालिटी ऑफ एक्सेस इंडिया में कभी नहीं है, राइट? अगर आप कोई बिल्कुल टियर 4 टाउन या विलेज में से आप वहाँ पे फैक्ट्री नहीं चला सकते ना, आपकी लिंकेजेस कहाँ हैं, राइट? सो बट आई थिंक इंडिया में इक्वालिटी ऑफ डिजिटल एक्सेस है, एंड आई थिंक व्हाट आई एम excited by is that जो पिछले 5-6-7 साल में, and which is the story I think people miss. The story I think people miss is what has changed in India digitally. सबके बैंक अकाउंट है, सबके पास आधार है, सबके पास मोबाइल है, सबके अब GST आ गया है, वीडियो एनेबल्ड हैं, व्हाट्सएप पे हैं, मोबाइल पे हैं. तो लास्ट 2-3 टाइम्स जब मिसफायर हुआ था, ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं था. सो आई ऑलवेज से कि मी पर्सनली एंड आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ अस यूज्ड टू बी एनवियस ऑफ द चाइना स्टोरी, एंड व्हेन आई विजिटेड चाइना आई वाज वेरी एनवियस ऑफ देयर हार्ड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. बुलेट ट्रेन्स चल रही थी, फ्रीवेज बिल्कुल वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड की तरह लगते हैं, ऑल्दो मोर क्राउडेड. cities look like I don't think we'll ever get there. Maybe Gurgaon, some pockets look like that, but even Gurgaon is like tier 3 in China, right? I think so. We've always had an envy of the hard infrastructure of China. I think India is the envy for soft infrastructure. And if you look at जैसे UPI है, we didn't discuss UPI. US में अभी तक just launch हुआ है, उसको FedNow बोलते हैं because वहाँ पे Federal Reserve है. That's basically UPI. And their banking system and infrastructure. So the advantage of being developed can sometimes become a disadvantage of being developed because the technology leapfrogs you. और इंडिया में ये टेक्नोलॉजी बिल्कुल ग्राउंड अप बन रही है, राइट? तो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम मच मोर ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, बट आई वरी अबाउट. सो आई थिंक द डिजिटल ब्रिज अक्रॉस दिस इकोनॉमिक एंड फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का जो डिवाइड है, आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाई आई एम ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, क्योंकि अब वो एक्सेस सबके पास है. And we look at some even like in EdTech. I bet you when you congratulations on launching your brand. I'm assuming it's public. Not yet.
No, not
By
yet.
the time this goes out, will it be public?
By the time it's out, it'll be public.
So congratulations still.
Thank you.
Otherwise, you can edit it out. So you will see the demand from tier 3, tier 4 cities.
Yeah,
It used to be, and by the way, to your first point, एस्पिरेशन वहाँ पे बहुत है बिकॉज वो अब एक्सेस तो सब है, इंटरनेट पे भी है, इंस्टाग्राम पे देख रहे हैं, टीवी पे देख रहे हैं, whatever, सब सेम चीज़ चाहिए बट वहाँ पे अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है. सो यू विल सी वेरी सून, वी आर सीइंग इन आवर कंपनीज टीयर 2, टीयर 3. टीयर 2 तो अभी टीयर 2 तो सोचते ही नहीं है बिकॉज टीयर 2 हैज बिकम ऑलमोस्ट लाइक टीयर 1. टीयर 3, टीयर 4 हैज गॉन फ्रॉम कॉल इट 5-7% of sales for some brands to like 30-40, 25-30%.
What?
Yeah.
30-40%?
25-30, depends on the price point.
Yeah,
They're very price sensitive.
700 and less.
1,000 and less.
1,000 less.
AOV.
AOV
not
की बात
not
कर, yeah.
per item, but total.
Total
how much
AOV,
they
yeah,
spend.
yeah. Cart values.
Yeah. So I think that's what makes me excited. And net, I think, especially ये जो नेगेटिव व्यूज आते हैं ना, रिपोर्ट्स आती हैं, ये कई ऑफन इज फॉरेन ड्रिवन एंड इन अ गुड वे, लाइक दे आर कवरिंग द मार्केट. एंड आई थिंक द फुल इम्पैक्ट ऑफ दिस digital infrastructure they don't see on a daily basis. We see it on a daily basis, right? Life has completely changed for a lot of us. So I think that's the thing. But you know, like I said, wariness is that employment generation should happen with the growth.